This is a Wabco suspension compressor out of a Dodge Ram 2500. These compressors were fitted in many variations from 2014 to 2022 with most engine configurations. 6-cylinder, 6.7 litre diesel, 8-cylinder, 5.7 litre. And this is a video just to show you how to dismantle the compressor and fit our seal kit, which is available from www.4x4airseals.com. Now, our specialty is manufacturing of the seals. We're not auto engineers, but whenever we're given the opportunity, we like to demonstrate how to dismantle the compressor and help our customers as much as possible. So basically, the first thing you need to do with this Wabco compressor is remove this vent pipe and the pipe underneath, which is the matter of pulling a clip back and then pulling this pipe off, and then there's a collet underneath which you push in and remove this pipe. The next two pipes you need to remove are these two pipes. So it's same again, push in the collet and remove the actual pipes themselves. There's a tiny pipe the same underneath. So once you have removed these pipes, you then need to undo the 3 bolts at the back using a T30 Torx bit. So once you've unscrewed all these 3 top hat nuts, once you've removed those, you then should be able to remove the compressor itself. Now obviously there's a lot of cables and clips, you can undo wiring clips, anything that just sort of aids, but really this compressor is now ready to be removed. So it should just basically, with a little bit of manipulating, that should come out like so, and the only thing you've got left still attached is this temperature sensor, which you slack this T30 bolt off and then you can remove the temperature sensor like so. So the next scenario is basically to remove the air dryer chamber and the cylinder head. Sometimes these bolts are quite seized, and same with these two M6 nuts, so putting a little bit of penetrating fluid on them helps. So first thing we need to do is we need to slacken off the two M6 nuts. And as you remove these two nuts, you will feel the air dryer chamber may becoming loose due to a main spring that's inside. Sometimes, well, most of the time, the main spring between the cylinder and the air dryer chamber is really rusty and sometimes broken. So in our kit we supply a new main spring, which is always recommended, because there's a lot of condensation and a lot of condensation that goes through the compressor, causing metal parts to rust severely. So once you've undone this air dryer chamber, you then separate it, and as you can see, there is obviously the main spring, which is a rusty spring, and then basically you have the air dryer in tow. So the next job is to remove the cylinder head. Same again, using T30 Torx bits. You just unscrew them. Like I say, sometimes they're quite seized and they need to be soaked overnight. But yeah. So you remove the two Torx bits. Like so. Make sure you put all the parts incrementally so that they go back together in reverse order. Now once you've slackened these two bolts, then the cylinder head should come away, as you can see. Now you can obviously remove the bolts just so they're not rattling around when you're trying to clean up the bore. So there you've got the board. And the next thing to do is to remove the O-ring, because all these replacements are in the kit. We spend a lot of time on sizing of the O-rings, and the manufacturer of our seals quite precise to give you a good service out of the rebuilt unit. So once you've got the cylinder off, it's a good idea to clean all the oxidization out of the groove before you fit the new one, and especially in the actual bore itself. So give the bore a good cleaning, and like I say, with a wire brush, taking great care not to damage this finish, because this is an extremely smooth finish, and any score marks, especially if it's gone down to the original aluminium, will cause premature wear of the new seal. So make sure everything's in good order. You then clean that up. So the next thing to do is to remove this retaining plate. Just get a screwdriver, and you just pry off the plate like so, and underneath the plate is a delivery valve, and just take note which way around the delivery valve spring goes. The small end is going down to the valve itself, and the larger of the spring end is going against the plate. So place all these items, because all these items need cleaning before reassembly. Also remove this main O-ring, housing O-ring, because there's a new one in the kit. Right, so that really is as much as you need to disassemble this cylinder. The next task is, once you've wire wooled and cleaned all this groove, is to clean out all the crudge out of this housing, especially where the delivery valve seats. It's important that you don't score it, but just get wire wool and make sure that housing inside is very clean. And the same with this delivery valve. As you can see, there's a lot of like dust and debris, so all that wants to be very clean. The spring is quite robust. It's just a matter of making sure that goes back on in the same way. And the retaining plate, normally it's a little interference fit when you're taking it out, and that's because there are little tabs inside, and if you bend the tabs slightly outwards, when you come to refit it, it goes back to being a nice tight fit and doesn't fly out with the spring. So clean all this plate, completely get it all smooth and shiny, everything cleaned up, and then that cylinder will be ready to reassemble in reverse order, fitting our new O-ring in this area and fitting the main O-ring round and putting the plate back in. The next task is, obviously, the main part of this compressor is the piston seal, and as you can see with this one, to remove it you have to sprise it sort of over the piston head, and then obviously you remove the old piston seal. As you can see, that's pretty warm. Once you've removed this old seal, you need to clean up all the oxidization around this mating face and any oxidization inside the piston head itself, taking great care not to damage this one-way valve return shim. Using wire wool usually carries out this task successfully. Once you have done that, that's all cleaned. Obviously the cylinder will be cleaned up. You've got all the parts, so you just put all the parts in some sort of order so you don't lose anything. And then the next disassembly task is on the air dryer itself. Now the air dryer, I'll just get a container. The air dryer contains all the granule media which takes the air condensation out of the air, and normally this needs to be replaced every couple of years at least. I know manufacturers don't tell you to service this, but it's imperative that you don't allow the condensation to travel in the rest of the electronic components of the housing itself. So just for demonstration purposes, I already emptied out the old granules, but just for this I'll show you how to remove the granules. You get some thin nose pliers and you remove this collar like so, and then you have got a metal disc. Now if you get a container like this and you tip it upside down, you tap it and all the granules fall into the container, and in the bottom of the air dryer chamber, there is another filter which you remove. Now, these are particularly new granules because they're out of our kit, but our granules are slightly bigger in diameter and they allow better airflow through the air dryer chamber. The ones that you take out originally are very small, and if they do compromise any of the filters, they can nearly go through some of the holes in the bottom and cause further problems. So our granules, when you get them in the kit, actually look like what's in the container here, all clean and dry, but the original granules are usually wet through and sodden with water. So yeah, once you've done that, empty it into a container and obviously retrieve the metal filter plate. That's the only bit you need to retrieve. This plate needs to be cleaned up, shiny, ready for reassembly. And the two filters obviously discarded because two filters are supplied in the kit. This actual centre bit, if you just tap it, this centre bit normally can be removed. As you can see, you just pull on it and it can be removed, and it's a good idea to clean all the inside of this housing. Just get it all. As you can see, there's rusty water down there, so that's not going to help anything. And on the bottom here, it's all got like signs of water. This o-ring is a special size, and it very rarely requires attention. We just clean this container up and we put a smear of dielectric grease, which is supplied in the kit. Once you've cleaned that up, then you can reassemble, locating this in the actual bottom like so. The kit we supply is made up of these components: granules, two filters, main housing o-ring and the bottom housing o-ring. There's two types. Some Wabco compressors have the shaped one, some have the circular one. Main housing spring, which is important, and our in-house custom machined CNC piston seal. Two bolts for the cylinder head and some tie wraps to tie wrap any wiring. So after getting rid of all the crudge and oxidation inside the cylinder head housing and where the delivery valve seats, all that's cleaned out. Same with the bore, there's no oxidization in there, that's ready to be reassembled. Same with the air dryer housing. The housing obviously has been removed from inside there and cleaned out, and also inside to make sure there's no old granules blocking any ports up. We also have prepared all the o-rings, the o-ring on the back with some silicone grease, so that now can be reassembled into the housing. So basically you just got to get it lined up and just make sure, and then just basically push it in. So that's now ready for the granules and filters. All the housing bolts, all the cylinder head bolts, all those have been cleaned up, and some silicone grease on the threads. So the parts that's been removed that are not being replaced is the old o-ring, the main housing spring, the old piston seal and the old o-ring. So what we can do now is fit all the granules into the air dryer housing itself. So first thing we do is we put a filter into the bottom like so. We just press that down there, that should go all the way down to the bottom. You could use a screwdriver or some thin nose pliers or anything just to position that into the bottom. Make sure it's always to the bottom. That's okay. Next thing is to put the granules into the dryer housing itself, making sure none go down the centre. I always put my finger over the end and just tip the granules into the housing. Now you just basically fill the container up until it's about maybe 5mm from the top. If you have a few more granules left over, it's no problem, but just keep leveling the granules up. That should be enough there, more or less, I would say. So just put the granules to one side. The next thing is to put the remaining filter on top of the granules, like so, and then the disc that's obviously been cleaned up, that goes on top of the filter, and then the retaining plastic retainer that then pushes onto, and that then stops the granules from spilling out. Now, before you fit the compressor back in, all the air pipes, I always put a smear of grease so that they can be disassembled in the future a little easier. Just a little smear of grease on the pipes makes life a whole lot better when it comes to removing them again. Now, there are other components on this compressor. There's electrical valve, all these can be disassembled, but this video is basically concentrating on the compressor itself and the filtration, which is usually the suspect parts that wear over time. So yeah, it's how far you want to go with this unit. You could disassemble it, you could blast it, you could paint it, you could really go to, you know, an extra level, but in terms of returning the performance of the compressor, this is what this video is about. Now, our seal kit, our seals are manufactured in-house, CNC machined in the UK. We can ship this kit out all over the world, like you say. So if you look in the description of the video, it has got the address for the website and some further details. But if you want to ask any questions through the YouTube, we'll gladly answer any technical queries. So once we have got the dryer filtration fitted, the next item is to reassemble the cylinder delivery valve. Now, the delivery valve, as I said, it needs to be cleaned up so there's no crudge on it as such, oxidization. It has to be all clean, same as the actual bore. So you basically fit the delivery valve, just get a scriber, because it can be a bit fiddly, especially with these gloves on. There you are. So that fits like so. And then we want to place the new main housing o-ring. Always put this silicone grease, which is also included in the kit, that sort of goes round the outside. All the o-rings, everything sized up pretty well, you know, pretty exacting, as you would expect. So the next thing is the little spring, the little conical spring, that then sits on top of the delivery valve like so. And then the next last item for the cylinder is this retaining plate. Now, there are a couple of little tabs inside. I've sprised them back out, so when you position it, it's a press fit into the housing. So it's just be very careful, and then just press that back in like so. So there now is the housing, and obviously when we come to put the housing and the cylinder together, we have to put the new main spring on, which is important. It keeps the correct tension on the granules. So next item is the piston seal itself. So so if you look on the piston, on the piston head itself, obviously been cleaned up, there is actually a little locating peg. So you've got to make sure the piston seal is located correctly on the actual piston head. Now, there's a little notch, so there's the actual peg, and basically it's just a matter of putting the seal over the piston like that, and then that is now ready. What I always recommend, obviously in the kit, there is a little bit of, obviously there's some silicone grease in there, and I always put, I'll just take the gloves off so I don't have any dust on me, but we always recommend putting a slight slither of on the very outside of the piston seal, just not the outside, not the sides, just a very thin smear all around the circumference of the seal, like so. And it just helps the seal to bed in when it's first started up. It's a special grease that we have sourced and done to our own specification for pneumatic and electrical purposes. So basically just put a very thin smear around the seal circumference, not on the sides, and the next step is to fit the o-ring. So if you look on the bottom of this cylinder, it's a round o-ring, not the shaped one, so the shaped one won't be used. So what we need to do is put the silicone grease in the kit around the o-ring, and then place that like so. So this cylinder is now ready to be fitted back back onto the piston itself. Put the long bolts back in first before fitting the actual cylinder back on the piston. So yeah, we'll do that again, and then just slide that down like so, and then fit the new bolts into, and then just tighten them down evenly cross pattern. I think M6 bolts are usually something like 8 to 11 foot-pounds, but you know, tight bolts, sometimes you can do it by hand, but if you can torque them up to about 8 to 10 foot-pounds, that's okay too. Right, so you just tighten those up. So that's the piston seal fitted, the housing bolts back on, and now it's time to fit the air dryer. So obviously you'll need an M10 socket, and it's just a matter of placing the new spring out the kit over the centre and slide the bolts down like so, just keeping attention on the bolts, and that should go together nicely. And then basically you just have to push the bolts and try and get the two nuts in position so you can let go of the chamber and tighten them up evenly. That's one on, and then the other one, just probably push back a bit, the other one, and then you just basically tighten those nuts. Always a bit fiddly when you're trying to hold on to the dryer. There we go. So now it's just a matter of tightening those down proper. Same again with the nuts, you know, it's about probably 8 to 10 foot-pounds, but you don't want to go crazy on the tightening them because it's a plastic housing and you can deform it if you go too tight. Just tighten them evenly. Like so. So there you go, ready. The unit's ready to be fitted back into the housing. So you've got these washers, which these type of washers they do fit on the bolts. First job to do when you're fitting it back into the housing is to put the temperature sensor and the temperature sensor bolt back in, which is, this is the temperature sensor, this is the actual securing bolt, so that screws into the side of the cylinder head like so. And then, as I said in the previous, just put a little bit of silicone grease out of the packet and the kit, and then just slide that in nice and gentle until it slides in nice. And then obviously get your Torx bit, which I think is a T30. Don't want to over tighten it, it's just nipped up normally, you don't want to squash it. As I said previously, this is just concentrating on the actual compressor, but obviously all these can be cleaned up, taken out, you know, it all sort of complements the repair. So yeah, next thing is to position these springs on the bosses on the housing itself, and hopefully they stay intact while you're trying to manipulate the compressor back in. And these bolts, special top hats, they go in from the back. So the first thing to do is to try and get it all located on the springs. As I say, these air pipes all need to be lubricated, just makes life a lot easier. So you just have to take your time and try and position all this compressor back into its housing. So there's one, that's sort of, just locate the bolts in the centre of the springs. There you go. And that's a pipe, that just makes sure you don't trap any pipes, which is not easy to do, but you just have to take your time, turn it on its side, and then you start to put these top hats back in, like so. Yeah, we've been manufacturing seals for many years now for our suspension, and we take pride on the sizing and the quality of our products. As I said, it's all in-house CNC machine seals, so we don't source them from China and other places like that. We prefer to keep the quality in-house. So yeah, so you just basically now, you just tighten these bolts up, top hat bolts. Probably screw them in as much as possible by hand first until they actually stop. It's quite a nice designed unit really. But yeah, please check out our website, as I say, 4x4airseals.com, and we ship all over the world. Can answer any queries and technical questions through our website or the YouTube video itself. So them top hats are now tightened up. The next thing to do is to reattach the pipes, which you might better off line it down. Just pushes in there, just as you can see. There, yeah. The next pipe is the one on top there, and then just work that down over the, reposition that like that, and then don't forget the two remaining pipes which push in, and you can see the witness marks of how far they go in. You can see just one mark sticking out when it's fully seated, and same with the last pipe, like so. And that basically is the compressor, piston and filtration side fitted. If you enjoyed and found it useful, the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because we have other technical videos. We do Land Rover, Porsche, we do a lot of other seal kits. Happy to answer any of your questions. Just check out in the details of this video where the website is, and yeah, we'll catch up very soon. Thanks for viewing the video, and all the best.